Welcome to Change the Narrative. I'm your host, JD Fuller, an African-American, licensed psychotherapist, professor, diversity coach, consultant, and author. We talk about the isms. We talk about the phobias, anything that marginalizes and oppresses. Everything we are not and everything we are is because of fear. Through a mental health lens, we'll have difficult conversations with celebrity guests, political activists, and everyone in between. Our mind will tell us whatever we want to believe, but the truth lives in the body, and that's where change occurs. Are you ready to change the narrative? So one of the things I want to ask you about is the emotional impact, right? As a therapist, I have to be curious about what did you and your wife do to continue, thriving and to move forward? Did you seek any support? Did they give you any victim support?
So I would say that first off, the Cook County, the office of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, the lady I worked with closely, she was great. Like, she was phenomenal. She checked on us a lot. She helped us through the process. She understood that there were some things that were frustrating about the system. And she, offered that comfort. She asked if we needed any help with things like that. And I sought it out myself. It was tough because, like I said, when we left, we know the craziest thing happened. I looked at my phone and realized I had all the footage. And then the decision was like, are we going to post this? And it was like, yeah, because that's a crime and we need to get the information. So from there, I'm posting this on my private Facebook page as a public post for the first time as something like this. And I'm asking for help. And, there was a lot of great support from people. Then there was also some folk, of course, white folks, even some black folks who was in the inbox talking really crazy. And again, a couple of days later, we get some mail from somebody, and this mail was like, it was a printed letter, and it said, something about you all are definitely N-word. It was N-word, something like that.
Yeah.
It was. I'll never forget it. It was a beautiful envelope too. It had our address typed out, no return address. And I remember opening that thinking it was going to be some type of letter of support. And I was just taken back. And then you go to the police station where I live and they're just like, oh, can't do nothing about it. No, it's not a threat.
Wow.
And again, you feel helpless, like, so because they didn't explicitly say something, you all, and considering what I just dealt with, so it just really made me just kind of resent the system even more, because before then, it was more so secondary experiences with the system. I had some things, of course, but like just knowing how we have been done. Now I'm seeing it in real time. Y'all don't care about victims until like something happens. So we went straight back to work 2 weeks later, and that was rough because we were viral. And corporate culture and the education system is a corporate entity. Everybody needs to understand that. It is not what you think it is. It is not a transformative place. Education is
right.
It's bad. So we don't have these conversations at work. Like everybody puts up a mask as if everything's okay. Oh, how was your summer? How we go back to work is like, all right, I'm in a sea of white people now. The same, who look just like the person who assaulted us. I don't want to be here. Like that was, because we have 2 days of meetings. That was tough because the meetings already drained me because it's always surface. And as as black folks, like, we're not surface people. And those meetings drained me because it was not like, it didn't fulfill me. It didn't feed me. And I need to be fed then. I go into class the first day. I tell the kids what happened. Some of the kids saw it. Some of the kids knew what happened. So going throughout the year was really rough. March of that following year, 2017, I had a breakdown. And I was driving to work one day, and I think it was just kind of like feeling isolated, not fully feeling supported. With teaching or any type of job, you get the little breaks, Christmas, all of that. Like, you're just going. It's like you're going down a hill, and it's hard to stop that movement, that momentum. So I broke down one day driving to work, and I'll never forget. It was like going to the bridge on Jefferson Street right before I cross over to where the school is. And I had to pull over because it was just too much. It just started flowing out. And I've never been that person to just cry. And I called my mom, and she was like, I think you need to take off. You need to go home, because you're not doing well. And I remember taking off, and I remember thinking, like, I've never used my health insurance for mental health. It's always been MD,
Right.
and I barely even use that. So I was
Right.
thinking, how do I even find a therapist? I think I need a
Yeah.
therapist now. And I was
Great.
like, I Googled, like, black therapists in my, black therapists in my town. And I found a couple names. I called some people. I never forget. I was in my kitchen talking to this lady, and she felt so much sympathy for me. I was telling her what happened, and she was like, but I am so sorry. I won't be able to see you, though, because you're not on my insurance. And I just, like, I was just sitting in that kitchen, just lost. Like, how do I, like, why does this have to be so difficult? So what I began to do was, like, throughout that week, I started outlining the experiences in my life related to that, because I was really reflecting, like, I've dealt with a lot of racial trauma throughout my life that I need to unpack. And I just started writing. That's the birth of my book. I started, like, I told myself I got to write every day, whether it was on my phone, whether it was sitting down. And eventually I found a therapist. Wasn't able to find a black therapist on my insurance, but I needed somebody quick. I found a Muslim brother, really cool.
Okay.
And that's kind of where it started. It was difficult though, because I had to drive so far during work nights.
I know.
And it's always this balance of, I don't have time, but then in your mind, you're like, how don't you have time for your mental health? And I went through a long period of not seeing him. And I regret that to this day, because, like, he ended up going to a different place. And so it was rough. Like, for me, I needed to access that. My wife didn't deal with it the same way, because I had already been doing that type of fight. Hers was more so, she felt, really closer to her, like, a religion, reading the Bible and everything. But I've always needed more than that. And I think it's a work in progress, because it's a journey. And I think something that really helped me a lot was Resma Menakem's book, My Grandmother's Hands, that deals with racial trauma. And I read, when we got locked down and I had to teach virtually, I was reading that, and I felt the weight falling as I was reading it. And so that's kind of where I am now. Like, I mean, meditation's big, writing is big, alone time, being outside daily, working out, talking. I think every time I had a speaking engagement, it was cathartic and therapeutic as well.
Absolutely. Look, I am so sorry that it was so challenging. Hopefully it's getting easier for people from the global majority to find people who look like themselves in the therapeutic space, or like you did, to find someone at least in the communities that can relate to the experience. And it sounds like you gained some skills from that short period of time in therapy, and you expanded upon them and grew. Look, traditional therapy is not for everyone, but it is an important opportunity to learn how to do what you did, which is develop awareness and insight. And I recommend, Resma's book to everybody. To me, it's like, I've been trying to get him on the show for the past year, just because
I got to reach out to him for you.
Oh, please, because I've taught, and he's empowered me in ways to help me figure out how to spread the message, in an effective way. With all the skills that I had from school, it's just like been integrated with his teaching. So it's pretty powerful. So I'm happy that you found your way. That's really incredible. So I'm going to shift gears, and on your website, you have an African proverb. If you don't know who you are, anyone can name you. That's so important. Well, and then it goes on to say, if anyone can name you, you will answer to anything. What does that mean to you?
Ooh, yeah, shout out to Dennis Kimbrough. I read that in his daily motivation book towards the end of writing my book too, and I was like, oh, that's it. Like, that's like, I don't start my chapters with quotes, like most books do. That's just the one quote I want people to think about, and I think it's so powerful, because understanding that proverb, of course, likely preceded what we experience, but that's a big part of our culture, from, maybe ancient Kemet documenting everything on the walls, to West Africa with griots. Like, we have such a rich history. And, I think about what we went through when we were placed on those ships, and we lost a lot of we lost the culture by name, we lost our names and we were rebranded. And a lot of what I see, again, is a reaction to the trauma, the system we're in, and also to like being displaced from where we truly are. Because again, if you know who you are, then nobody can just call you. Don't respond to that. I always tell kids, like, I'll do a speaking engagement. I'll just start calling out random names and nobody will answer. Why? Because that's not your name. Like,
right.
you that's not you. So like you have to, that's why affirmations are so big to me. You have to know who you are before you leave out that house, before you go to the word, even open up your phone, because somebody is going to either say something or they're going to show you something that does not directly agree with who you know you are in your spiritual essence. But if you are unclear about that, you're going to be following that. You're going to go around to it. And that history, which to me is, it's our historical memory, is what I say. Our history is, especially before the time we were born, that's our memory. Like, and I'm someone that believes that we've been here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we entered this realm. We're conscious of this moment, but like, I'm born in the 80s, but like the stuff in the 70s, it's like all that stuff and that social construct at the time impacts us today. So you have to know that firmly, that identity. Otherwise, you're going to be following along to what anybody says. And in America, Black Americans are more susceptible to that because, again, we're the only ones here, even our indigenous brothers and sisters, like trauma on another level as well. But they know who they are. We were taken. And a lot of what we do now is we're trying to find it, but we don't realize that that's what we're actually going through.
Whew. Yes. There's nothing to even add to that. Just yes. You said it's not the flower, it's the environment. I love when you did that in one of your speaking engagements. Will you elaborate?
Yeah, man, I found that on a tweet, so I wish I remember who posted it. But yeah, it's it's beautiful because it's the same thing that Tupac says. The rose that grew from concrete. It's a rare thing because it's not supposed to grow in that environment. Like when we see a rose in a grocery store or a floral shop or out in nature seeing sunflowers or whatever, we marvel at its beauty, and if you like were to buy some flowers and you bring them into your home and after a couple of days they wither, like you don't get mad at the flower.
Right.
You're thinking, dang, did I add enough water? Is the soil right? Is there enough light here? Like, so like we are that, again, as we are truly regal people. They're like, we got to brag a little bit. Like there on this realm, nothing could exist without our existence. It all comes from the motherland, the same continent that has every resource, the same continent that's still getting looted. That like we talk like Queen Elizabeth, like they went there and ravaged that place because they don't have anything where they're from. So they took everything, stuff that we took for granted because like it's just here. We live in it. You know what I'm saying? So like that is essentially important because that's the true essence of our identity, in my opinion.
Right. No, I agree. You could preach as well. I'm just saying.
I get it from my mom.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's no lie in that. Okay, so I'm winding down now, and there's 3 things that I want to know. So I'm hoping we can get to them all. I'm just gonna say The Little Mermaid.
Oh man, I made another post about that today. That I found.
I saw it.
That lady, that was a fatality, Mortal Kombat. Like it's always funny to me because when we talk about representation, for one, if you notice, a lot of racist people, they get the most frustrated when we are included in their fictional stories. These are fictional stories. This is mythology. But they don't bring that same level of anger when they are included in our factual stories that were removed from our history. It's different. We talking about, I was in my mentoring group the other day, I showed the kids how in the 9/11 story, Sergeant Jason Thomas, a black brother, went in there with another sergeant and saved the lives. But in the World Trade Center movie, they casted a white guy as him 5 years later. This wasn't like 500 years later. It's 5 years later on purpose. Then if we look at the, like, for example, the gods of Egypt, same thing. Like they showed you they had brown skin, locks and braids and afros, and you purposely cast all white, not even like type of brown, no tan, nothing.
Right.
So
Right.
with this Ariel thing, it's funny, like, because in its truest form, we are being included. But if we dig deeper, it's kind of funny because we actually created that mythology first. You know, it's
Crazy.
the doggone in West Africa. That's the 4,000 years ago. So we talk about being displaced from our culture in West Africa. The doggone civilization they were aware of stars and constellations, Sirius B, for example, that, like, without the same technology we have today, they were aware of that stuff thousands of years ago that we're just starting to see. So it's not even to me that we're stealing their story or being included in their story. We're just reclaiming what it was truly ours. And even beyond that, a lot of other cultures created mermaid stories as well. But like, when a group of people, and I'm not even talking about us, but when a group of people doesn't truly have a history that they're proud of, they will they will put more into mythology than what actually happened. And that's what you said. They're so like, you're really that mad. No, you think that's the only thing you have to truly be proud of, because, you know, if you really grapple with what you've done historically, then you know what's really.
You know, again, totally in agreement. And I wonder, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know you pretty much, you know, teach to the global majority, and your intent is to empower and to inform. What do you want to say to the white community who wants to get it, but they can't? They know they can't get it, but they want to. What do you say to them?
Humble yourself. Humble yourself. You know, vet your social media and follow Black pages, you know, Black historians, Black therapists, Black teachers, people outside of corporate America. Follow those people that make you feel uncomfortable, because I know, like, Malcolm X is a scary word to a lot of white Americans and even some Black folks too, because of how you know, how bold he was. But you need to really be able to digest that. You need to be able to listen to angry Black people. Like, you like,
I love that.
And what I really mean is that, like, Black folks who feel comfortable expressing their anger.
That's right.
It's justified anger. You need to hear it and stop following the people that are fed to you through social media. I'm sorry, but really mainstream media. And understand that, like, you're supposed to be racist in this society. So just like America is supposed to make us obese and overweight, you have to constantly work at it. Constantly work at it. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be like, well, dang, I'm racist, or dang, I had a racist thought, or like, you're not perfect. I think, like, for a lot of folks, racism or being called racist, they've equated that with us being called the N-word. Like,
yes,
like, you know, like, you're supposed to be that. You're like, you understand that you benefited from, like, y'all were doing human experiments on us, not even just during slavery. So for you to unlearn that, or even want to unlearn that, it's a great thing. That's a miracle. Applaud yourself, and just keep working at it. That's all I really. I mean, because I'm even really leery of even saying allies. I think there can be situations where you are like, but it's a process. You're attempting to be.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go against that one, because allies are witnesses. They can choose to be involved and not be involved.
Yeah,
and that's
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm really not.
You know
I'm not really big on just using that term. Like,
I can't stand that term.
Yeah, it's we gotta find. You know, I'm not perfect, but I haven't found a better word yet. But, like, if you ain't John Brown, you know.
look, you're pretty damn perfect. I just don't like that word, because,
you know,
to me, it gives a false representation of what is required to unlearn. There is no allyship in unlearning. There's only abolition, and there is only, you know, taking charge of your own unlearning. However, as you've said, the reality is that you still own racism. And that's not no matter how much you unlearn, it's still a product that you own. And so to stand by and create the illusion of allyship, I just think is problematic. I started giving that back about 5 years ago, and I'm hoping to encourage everybody to do the same. So I appreciate you being open to that.
Oh yeah, and you can't label yourself, you know, as that. You know, like, it's like, for me to, I mean, understand that we also live in a sexist and capitalist society. My only frame of reference would be sexism as being a man. Like, I I'm born into a society that will like to give me benefits in certain things, like, as a man.
Yes.
So like I have to constantly unlearn that and listen
Yes.
to different perspectives and, or
Appreciate that.
listen to the LGBTQIA community and
Mhm.
understand those perspectives. Because that's just, we live in a heteronormative society too. So,
Right.
like it's people just have to humble themselves and not get mad at the label. Like remove the
Yeah.
social construct. If somebody says, that you trying to do this work, but that was racist. Listen, like, oh wow, can you explain that to me? Like I want to learn.
Right.
mean,
And it's
yeah.
not our job to teach.
That's true.
To teach.
That's
Not our
true.
job to
That's
teach.
true.
So
That's
if we
true.
say that, I need you to go look it up and figure it out and then
Right.
get back to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Very true. Very true.
All right. We almost out of time. I got 2 more quick ones, but
Yep.
they're not quick. One is Colin Kaepernick. I love what you said. That's
Yeah.
my man. I'm about him. And I
Yeah.
feel the same way you do about
Yeah.
football season every year. Can you just give your
Yeah.
blurb on that?
Yeah, first off, I gotta put it out there. I gotta meet that brother. That's my
Awesome.
brother. We don't even, bro. We got. I remember I was teaching about him one year, and I Googled him real quick. Our birthdays, like we 2 days apart, same year. That's my
What?
brother. Yeah, that's my
Okay.
brother right there. But I what's funny, and I shared this with him because the same year he did that is the same year I dealt with my situation. So like this was July 30th, 2016. The football season started in like September. So I'm already like, I'm all in it. I'm all, like, I don't care. I'm over here posting vlogs for the first time. I'm growing my hair out, like all of this stuff. And when he got on there and said that, like, that like, it symbolized what I want to do. And it took me 6 years, but it symbolized what I wanted to be bold enough to do and say, I'm standing up for us regardless. And if you don't like it, then I'm gone. Thankfully, though, with all I said about education, I was at a district, even though I don't think they fully got it, because nobody does, especially if you ain't, you ain't black. Like, but they still, supported me by not bothering me, But like,
Yes.
I that year after where he wasn't signed, I consciously didn't watch it, and I just felt like I didn't really care anymore. Like it was just, and it was not caring in the sense that like, y'all really like gonna blackball this man for doing the most silent protest ever.
Right.
The most polite protest. That was the nicest protest in human history. He sat down first and then he met with somebody and said, okay, let's take a knee. So, and I think that at this point he shouldn't go back even if he had the opportunity. But also too, I take it personal that, and I can't speak to it because I'm not in the NFL. But I would like to think that if I did that as a pro athlete or any other thing, that my brothers would support me, and I really that hurt. I ain't gonna lie, that one hurt.
I'm with you.
It probably, even if it was just 10 people, if it was 10 black,
with you.
So
I'm with you, and that's why capitalism rules, because capitalism, racism is capitalism first child or reverse.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's the same. And I just feel so much the same way. Football was my favorite sport, man. I got the Giants tattooed on my arm. It was a real big deal for me to give it up. And I did, and it hasn't been the same since. So when you made that post, I was like, damn, this brother's always speaking to what I'm feeling. So right on. So look, in closing, I want to have you talk about where everybody can find you.
Yeah, so you all, the best place to find me, honestly, right now, I would say be Instagram. I'm most prominently on Instagram and TikTok. That's at mrcrim3, MRCRIM3. You can also email me at info@ernestcrim.com. I have my website as well, ernestcrim.com. But I'm like, the best way is probably gonna be social media. I'm all in these social media streets trying to disrupt your algorithm and your dancing videos with some knowledge.
Mr. Crim the third. Just hear me when I say, I did not know I could be a bigger fan of yours than I already am. Man, two shows was not enough. And I hope you promise to come back in the new year and just give us an update. Yeah, for real? I got you on recording saying that.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do it. Let me know.
All right on, because you are a force to be reckoned with. I wouldn't be surprised if you were running for office, but I understand if you don't.
I did before. We can talk about that next time.
Right on. I appreciate that. So I just want to wish you well, tell you you're amazing. And you are blessed. And I am honored that you shared this space with me today. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Take care, brother.
Peace.